apologies for absence. There is none. Is there any object business? No. Can I ask councillors to declare if there's any interest?
Just to mention, my partner works in property, so as a competitor to CBRE. So I just wanted to kind of put that as a, just mention that as an interest in case it pops up.
Thank you. A minute of the last meeting. I know Councillor Gardner have sent some email regarding certain things that we might not be able to address today, but I want officers to note that. So can you have a look? Have you got a copy of the email? It was sent to you today at around 8:49. So please look into that so that we can address those issues. Are there any other points regarding, yes, Councillor Joe Founder?
I'm just wondering what happens to items that are brought up in minutes and then haven't yet happened, that aren't kind of, I'm talking specifically about the requests that we've put in many times in the hope that that the council can do some more work on encouraging more people to join the pension scheme, having a regular newsletter. We've got some good wording in some old minutes. And I'd actually really like to see that each time this hasn't been addressed, that this is addressed each time, because I seriously believe it's a very important thing that all staff are constantly reminded of the importance and benefits of joining the pension scheme. And it's come up in some minutes. I know that there's a staffing issue and being able to get on with this, and I understand that, but I do not want to see this lost. And I don't know if sort of holding it over from minutes to minutes, saying still not done or something, I don't know. It's not big enough to be an item. It's not the sort of stuff that we put into these papers, but I think it's still incredibly important for the functioning of the pension fund.
Thank you. I totally agree with you. So can I ask Julian, can you ensure that we contact the right department to make sure that the progress we've made, so that we can send it either by email to members? I think Jade might have to be involved on this, isn't it?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Yeah, I'll speak to, I think it's Kelly Scottford, in terms of the area and ask for progress. And as you said, what we can do progress before every meeting sent out, so at least at the meeting we can address if there's any concerns in terms of lag.
Yeah. Are there any other questions regarding the minutes? Can I sign the minutes on your behalf? No?
No, because of the inaccuracies, I move that they be brought back to the next meeting. We don't sign them now, we bring them back rewritten.
Okay. Yeah, Councillor.
Sorry, yeah, if it's not been mentioned, I wasn't present at the last meeting, so just to put it, the minutes there, yeah.
No, it was written there at the bottom that apology from yourself and Councillor Joe Vanderbroek. So it was noted that you were not there, and your apology was accepted. Thank you. So in that case, I'm not going to sign the past meeting, and then when we bring it back and we resolve the issues, then I can sign the two together. Is that okay? Thank you. Can I turn to item number... No, before I go that way, can I just acknowledge the people from the Palestine, who are present here for today. So you are welcome to sit at this meeting. But according to the rule, which is by law, when it gets to a certain stage, I will have to ask you to leave. So I'm not there yet, but I will let you know. Okay? Item number 5 on my agenda. This is the panel is requested to know the annual report of the pension board, and there is a distinction there between the pension board and the pension investment and administrative. So the pension board is chaired by Councillor Nick Williams. So this is their report. I would like to hand over to Julian to introduce that to the officers. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. And as you mentioned, the annual report is highlighting the board activity for the financial year 23-24. It includes items that the board has reviewed throughout the year, attendance, training that's been received. One of the key items I'd like to mention is that the board has reviewed managers' ESG policy, and in particular around engagement and stewardship activity, as per 2.2 of Appendix A, page 27. The board will continue this piece of work in the next financial year and continue to review managers' engagement. I'm happy to take any questions or comments, Chair.
Before I allow members to give questions, I'd like to acknowledge and thank the pension board and the chair and the members for their support over the last 2 years, and thank you very much. I open it to the floor. Councillor Gardner, thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I was going to make a similar comment. I was on the Pensions Committee before the last council elections, and I think that under Councillor Williams's stewardship, there's been quite a turnaround, and I think the Investment Committee and board have been working well together. It's good to see there have been 2 staff trade union representatives on the pension board, and very good attendance from them, and participation also in our long away days. So I think the relationship has worked much better and been very positive. So I'd like to thank the pension board for their work.
Are there any other comments or questions to either myself or Julian? No? So thank you, Councillor Nick, for your hard work. And please convey this message to your members as well. Thank you very much. Item number 6. Can I ask members that we are happy to note the reports? Yes. Thank you very much. Item number 6. I think this is of 2. It's like 2 in 1. So I'm going to ask Julian to explain what we are going to do. Which one are we going to? I think we are going to take the training first. No? No, not this one. Okay. Oh, okay. Is that number 7 then? That was number 7, yeah? The roadmap, the net zero. Okay. Okay, item number 6. The panel is requested to agree the fund knowledge and understanding skill policy. Can I ask Julian then to take us through that? Thank you.
Yep, thank you, Chair. The panel is just asked to agree the fund knowledge, understanding, skill policy and framework as per Appendix A. This policy is reviewed annually and just highlights the training that's already undertaken and training that will be undertaken. As per 1.2, it highlights if the panel will be willing to participate in the free online training platform provided by Barnett Waddingham, particularly details is highlighted in 4.2 of the report. The only key addition to this report from last year is going forward, we'll look to undertake a kind of a survey assessment on each training session. This will help us to highlight any gaps. So the first training session will be today, and we'll have questions, 1 to 5 questions, and we'll help to assess us, both board and panel, in terms of any training gaps that's needed. Happy to take any questions on that, Chair.
Yes, thank you. On page 35, members, it's written there on, that is 3.2, that there was a training that one out of 4 panel members were able to complete that training. That is online, and 0 of the other panel haven't attended the training or done the training, and myself, I'm included. So what I'm asking is that I'm asking the officers to send a link to us so that we'll be able to do it, so that we are in a better position by this time next year. So is that okay? So can I ask you to send us a link for those trainings that are due so that we can do it online? Are there any questions from members regarding that? No. Are members happy to agree the knowledge and understanding policy and framework? Thank you. Item number 7. Panel are requested to approve the updated zero roadmap as outlined on Appendix A. So that is item number 7. Can I ask Kenneth to, or maybe an introductory message from Julian, and then Ken can carry on. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Just a quick refresh. So when panel set the net zero target for the panel, what we look to do, we've undertaken a roadmap to look at how we can get there. And this is a refresh of that roadmap, and I think it's been 2 years since. Just to add, additionally, in item 10, we have a carbon footprint exercise that helps to complement where we're at in that journey. However, it's number 10, but Kenny can mention that in terms of where we're at in terms of our results. Pass over to you, Kenny.
Yep, thanks, Julian. Yep, this is an update on a paper that we prepared a couple of years ago, and it's designed to set out a roadmap for how the fund will achieve a net zero position. And what does net zero mean? Well, it means reducing the carbon emissions that are associated with the investments that you hold. For example, the investments that you have in hundreds and thousands of companies around the world. As I say, an update on a paper from 2 years ago. You've done a lot over the last couple of years to move this forward. And if you look at page 55, the bullet points, so on the second half of that page there, you can see the list of actions that you've taken over the last couple of years. You've agreed a target of getting to net zero by 2040. Any new investments that you make are looked at through a climate change lens. For example, you've made a commitment to the London CIV Renewable Infrastructure Fund, which has got significant climate change credentials. And that's true for any new investment that you make now. You're always looking to see what the climate change credentials are of that investment. One investment that's coming up over the next 6 months is that we'll need to consider is an investment in nature-based capital, forestry, timberland. An interesting fund in itself, but something that we'll look at with you and decide if you'd like to commit to that and what sort of level of investment you'd like to make. So it's all about moving forward along this roadmap. One thing that we do need to be aware of is that there's likely to be legislative change coming through. LGPS funds are expected to have to report under TCFD, which is the Task Force for Climate-Related Financial Disclosures. Initially, that was expected to come to us next year. I think with the change of government and all that's been happening in the political sphere over the last couple of years, that appears to have slowed down a little. But I think you can assume with a fair degree of certainty that will be coming to you at some point in the not-too-distant future, and that will require you to formalise on the targets that you've set. It will require you to formalise on the reporting of your carbon emissions. And as we'll see later in the pack here, that's going to be supported by the Climate Analytics Service that the London CIV offer to you. They offer some fantastic reporting around the carbon emissions that each of your investments produces. So In terms of actions, page 59, and this is a bit of a look back at all the things that you... Page 59, there's a table there which sets out all the actions that you intended to take, and most of those have been completed. Some have been put on hold because the TCFD requirements have been put on hold, but you know, if you look across those actions, most of them have now been completed. If we turn on to the next page, we can see, well, what happens next. We'll keep an eye on those TCFD regulations, see what they look like in the final form, what the exact timescale is. I think one of the other key actions for us to look at is to look at your equity investments. You have a sizable portion of your assets invested in equities. You saw with the Global Equity Fund that we reviewed last year, there's the scope to make significant reductions in carbon emissions by adjusting the mandate that you invest in, and that's something that we'd look to repeat with your UK equities and also the BlackRock Global Equity Fund that you hold. So perform a similar exercise to what we did with the LGIM Global Equity Fund last year. Okay. I'll pause there just to invite any questions or comments.
Yes, before I open this, can I just remind members here that there is going to be fire alarm tests by 11 o'clock, so don't panic. We've got officers here that we can follow. So can I open this up to the panel if you have any question? Yes, Councillor Joe van der Broek.
Just checking on the appendix, page 57, 3, long-term aspiration. It's noting there that the panel set a target date of 2040 for the fund to become net zero, and alongside a commitment to explore options to reach this target sooner. And I guess what I'm just asking for is ensuring that we get regular reports on how we might meet the target sooner.
Can I just comment on that? As some other borough or pension fund are having 2045, 2050, and some other organization, we are trying our best to make sure that we are able to do it sooner compared with other boroughs. So can I ask Kenneth to let us know, the progress and how often you are going to update us regarding to the question so that we know we are able to meet our target. Thank you.
Okay, no, thanks for the question. Yes, we receive annual updates. So we receive annual updates through the London CIV Climate Analytics Service. So that shows, and we'll see that later on, that shows the progress that you're making year on year. I think that what would be really helpful is if we could look forward, okay, to say what trajectory are we really on? What chance do we have of getting to net zero by 2040? And that's something that I've discussed with Julian and officers about the type of analysis that we could carry out there. We're still to exactly agree the form and scope of that, but I think that would be really helpful. What trajectory are we on? What chance do we have of getting to net zero by 2040? What actions do we need to take in order to deliver on net zero by 2040? And the two actions that you think about there are capital allocation decisions. Deciding to move your equity mandate to an equity mandate that's got a lower carbon exposure. But the other thing that we need to be very, very conscious of is the role of engagement. This is holding companies to account, making sure they deliver on the promises that they make to their shareholders and asset owners like the fund to deliver on the sort of net zero promises that they've made. So that forward-looking piece will help to inform those capital allocation and engagement activities.
Yeah, thanks, Kenny, for that. And it's certainly a point that I've really learned over the last 2 years, that engagement, it's not just what they're doing now, but engaging with the companies and putting the pressure on them to do the things we need them to do. So I do understand it's a two-pronged approach, I get, yeah.
Yes, Councillor Gardner.
Thank you. Thanks, Kenny, for the report. my recollection of our debate back in 22, I was trying to look for the minutes actually, was that there was this debate about whether 2035 or 2040, and we said we'd like 2035, but accept that 2040 and work towards 2035, whereas now it just says no, 2035. So I'm not sure where 2035 got lost, but I note that Hammersmith and Fulham have set the gold standard of going for 2030, and wondered what we're and also South Yorkshire, which is quite a large pension fund, what we're learning from them and what interaction there is in LGPS and so forth to go aim for the gold standard in terms of being carbon neutral as early as possible. And my second point, I think this touched on in terms of stewardship. What concerns me is companies like BlackRock and Fidelity are really not terribly driven or exercised by these targets, and how are they, in having a lot of our funds, particularly those two fund holders, but maybe CBRE as well actually, are using their stewardship role to ensure that where they've invested our money, those companies have very clear, very clear climate targets to keep the temperature rise down to 1.5 degrees. Are there reports from BlackRock and Fidelity and CBRE on the funds that we have invested with them? I know we get stuff from LSIV, but we don't seem to get reports back on how they're fulfilling that stewardship role.
Okay, well, I mean, it's certainly something we can bring to you in future, if that would be of help. So perhaps Julian and I can work on that and bring that information to you in future. In terms of learnings from other LGPS funds, yeah, we have, as you say, seen some LGPS funds opt for something 2030, 2035, that 2037 I think is another one that I remember. And I think in those cases, the role of natural capital investments is really quite significant. Investments in timberland and forestry, they deliver a return, but they also may claim to take carbon emissions out of the atmosphere as well. So they understand that those strategies have a significant role to play in bringing that net zero target date forward. What we'll need to think about as a panel is what the right balance is. Between diversification, what the target date that you would like to set, and then what the overall balance is, I guess, between all the investments that you have. What is the right overall balance between the target date for net zero and making sure you've got a diversified portfolio of investments?
Are there any other questions? Are members happy to approve this report? Thank you. Before I go to the next agenda, I would like to, recognize the Palestinian here again. I'm not going to use protesters, but those who are fighting for the right cause, yeah? So I've responded to your email. I will not be able to meet with you until I come back from holiday, as I've explained to you downstairs. So I will be emailing you when I come back from holiday. So that leads me to the next agenda, which items of business 8, 9, 10 contains information which is exempt from the provision of the Local Government Act of 1972, Schedule 12, because it discloses information relating to financial or business affairs of any particular person, including the authority of this information. Therefore, the rest of the meeting will be in closed session, and can I ask all the public to leave this and switch off the YouTube. Thank you very much, and I will see you next time. As long as it's not against the Act of 1972. So you can ask a question. If I'm unable to answer you because it goes within that, and I would like the officers to note the question so that if I'm unable to answer, please let me know. So you can use that microphone.
Well, perhaps I'll try and tie it in with what was discussed in here, even on the carbon neutral project, because that will not be sort of, you cannot claim that that would be separate from the supplying of arms and the impact of that. So I'd like you to consider that, if I may, with your divestments, hopefully from BlackRock, Fidelity and CBRE, and take note possibly of the Preston model and others who have managed to achieve this and investing locally, which would be more beneficial, of course, than investing in arms and destruction of our environment. So I'm happy to leave that as a comment. If that's something you can't answer, we can hopefully discuss that. And if anyone in this meeting would like to be in the interim until your return, we'd be very happy to talk with anyone that would like to. Is that okay?
Thank you. As from that, your question now, you've mentioned some names. So I will not be able to answer that question as of now, but I will seek the officer's advice if I can answer that question. And then I may have to email you. Yeah, we're live. Yeah, welcome back after this unusual fire test. So thank you very much. So where we stop is that Tim would like to ask a question, or he's asked the question. He's asked the question.
Sorry, apologies, just to confirm, it is just a test. There have been problems with the alarm system. If it's otherwise, I'll come to you. Okay.
Careful. So I've just been reliably informed that it's genuinely fire test, and they are on it. But if there's any further alarm, we will evacuate. So thank you very much. So Tim, I received your email, and then a response has been sent to you. And this is the same question that was asked at the last full council meeting by another councillor, which I have responded to. So if you look at the response that was sent to you, yeah, I believe everything is self-explanatory there. However, if you have any supplementary question, please let me know. And if it's within what I can answer. Thank you very much. And I believe Councillor Gardner would like to say something on this after your question. Thank you. Speaker?
Very sorry, my phone's just crashed on me. My supplementary question, my original question was about the risks of investing in Israel with its damaged economy and stocks going down. But subsequent to that, we've had the ICJ and the ICC rulings. We've had the TUC voting unanimously to support BDS and divestment. And the Foreign Secretary has suspended or cancelled 30 licenses for arms exports to Israel. So considering all of that, considering the international courts have decided that investing in the West Bank is illegal around the world everywhere, isn't it time that Greenwich Council completely divested from all companies that are supporting the illegal occupation of the West Bank and the continuing genocide in Gaza? Thank you.
Thank you. In response to your question, which was brought up at the full council by another councillor, which I've responded to, I'm looking into that. But one thing I will not say is that to say I'm going to do this and not be able to do it. But I'm looking into it. I've got a list of things where we invest in, and then I'm looking at the possibility of what we're going to do in the interim to find out how we can go about it. But remember, my and the members' fiduciary duty is to ensure that we are able to pay members due pension when they retire. So that is the forefront of what action I'm going to take. But I'm not going to say here and say I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. No. But we are in the process. I am investigating. Officers are working towards whatever we can do. So can I ask Councillor Gardner if you have anything to say on that?
Thank you very much, Chair, and could I thank Lubna and Tim for coming and making these points. I mean, clearly, it's not the role of this panel, this committee, to get into the issues in relation to the Israel-Gaza conflict, although we all have our personal perspectives on it. And obviously, we have to follow all legal and regulatory considerations, as we did say with investments in Russia and so forth. But I suspect this issue is quite complicated because many firms will, all the big 6 tech companies and so forth, they'll all invest in Israel to some extent, as they'll invest in many other regimes which are questionable. And it's very difficult as how you draw the line in terms of identifying those companies. Clearly, you could look at the Waltham Forest approach, which is to say there'll be no defence. The pension fund said there'll be no defence investments in arms manufacturers, or you could take a more nuanced view. But it is quite complicated. But what I thought is we have we have to have and do have a statement of investment principles, and included in the statement of investment principles are what non-financial principles we want to set, as well as the financial principles, clearly, which don't undermine our overriding fiduciary duty. They would control, it would be including human rights and, things like child labour and so forth, and would include, obviously, climate change and good governance and things like that. So I think, I'm not sure when we come to review the statement of investment principles, but that perhaps would be the right time to look at this. But I'm very pleased that you are having discussions, and maybe it's something we could look at, say, with investment principles. And it might also be useful just to discuss with Waltham Forest exactly what they've done in terms of divesting from arms manufacturers and how they've managed that. Because again, arms manufacturers are complex. They will manufacture civilian products as well, and tech companies and others will be suppliers to arms manufacturers. So it's a complex issue, but nevertheless, it's something we need to look at, I think, holistically in terms of our investment principles.
Thank you, Councillor Gardner. I hope you are a bit satisfied with our comments today. So I would like to now repeat what I said before, that the next meeting, the rest of the agenda will be in closed door session. So please, if you don't mind, leave. And if you can switch that off, please.